Hey guys, this is going to be a really cool video. I'm really excited about having Matt and Drew from the podcast Whiskey Tequila Fridays. That's right, WTF. Today we're going to hang out. We're going to talk about tequila. We're going to talk about their podcast, and we're going to do a blind together. So stick around. I think you'll enjoy this. I'm fired up to be here tonight with Drew and Matt, my Whiskey Tequila Fridays friends. Although it's not a Friday and we don't have any whiskey, we're going to drink like it's Friday. How's that sound to you guys?
Hey, sounds great.
I'm excited.
I'm stoked because I love listening to your podcast. I really wish you would turn it into a video podcast because I would like to see your faces on some of the goofy shit you say because it is so funny.
Well, you're lucky you get audio because we always say we've got faces for radio and voices for newsprint.
Awesome. So tell everybody where you guys are from and where you're at.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, we live in Naperville, suburb of Chicago. We met, doing some volunteer projects and things like that, and struck up a friendship through mutual fondness for alcohol and hanging out and just having a good time. And I had wanted to do a podcast primarily just for whiskey, more about just kind of geeking out and teaching a little education and tasting. And I'd asked a few of my whiskey buddies if they wanted to do it. And they were like flat out no right away. And when I approached Drew, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Would you want to, do this with me? And I could just kind of drag you along the whiskey journey. And he just kind of invited me over to his house and he had some tequila on the table. And I really didn't have much knowledge other than, maybe a bottle of 1800 here and there on my cabinet. And he really opened my eyes to the world of tequila. And he just said, well, what if we did both? And it was just like, yes, right away we knew.
That's awesome. What about you, Drew? You from the same area and everything?
Yeah, we've both lived in this town for close to 20 years. I think we've known each other for close to 15. And he's not really telling you the full story. I was still drinking 1800 like that was the good stuff. When he said, you really should explore tequila more. It's just like whiskey and rye and scotch. There's a lot of good brands out there that are good for sipping. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I mix it with some lime juice and club soda and that's good enough. So he kind of pulled me into it kicking and screaming. And that day he came over, I think I had laid out, like 7 tequilas, Matt? And
yeah,
I thought being the whiskey guy, he would go towards the añejos and the barrel-aged stuff. And he kept pointing over. He said, let's have a little bit more of that bottle right there. It was the Fortaleza Blanco. So that was Matt's first love, was that, probably my favorite Blanco as well. Yeah, perfect. You got the shirt on. And I think the next day, Matt's comment was, that was awesome, but I might have to change my toothbrush.
Oh, that's awesome. So now I'm 20 plus years of drinking tequila. 2003, 2003-ish, I think we were in Cabo San Lucas at Sammy Hagar's birthday party, and we drank the old ceramic bottle and blue bottle Cabo Wabo, and boom, I was a tequila drinker ever since. And then Cabo changed when they sold it, and I kind of swayed over into the bourbon world for a while. I started doing bourbon in the wintertime and then margaritas in the summertime, and would drink Clase Azul and Casamigos and trying to find that old good tequila again. And I got in the group All Things Tequila on Facebook, and
all right,
they said all kinds of stuff about tequila, and they made me mad, so I quit the group. I was like, to heck with you people. But one thing I took from that was one of the guys said, you should go try Ocho. So I went and bought a bottle of Ocho. And I was like, this is like old Cabo. Like, this is what I used to like. So a few months later, I asked if I could rejoin All Things Tequila, which I'm now friends with CJ Agave, the guy who runs that. So I find that so funny. And from there, it was just a straight rabbit hole of tequila. Then I started listening to podcasts and started doing a podcast a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, called Real Estate Makes Us Drink.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mortgage guy and my buddy's a realtor. We'd sit right here and talk about real estate, and I'd always start with a tequila. He'd always start with a beer. And he's the one that said, "Hey, why don't you start doing some tequila content?" So that was in August of last year when I started doing this. So haven't been doing this part of it very long, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
great.
awesome. I can tell too you've been running a show for a while because you've got like nice equipment and a real background. Like you're seeing my messy home office behind me right now, Matt's blank wall. I don't
Yeah,
know what we're looking at.
How do you
I
know that's not
chose
a
to
green
stand
screen?
up. Yeah,
There, I
Yeah,
can stand up. See, my mic
there we
even
go.
moves.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, our mics don't move. Nothing happens over here.
yeah, yeah. If I'm sitting down, then you can see the garbage behind me. So yeah, standing up is better.
That's what's running the soundboard that does the recording.
Yeah, you're blowing us away. You know, we're recording stuff on GarageBand. I mean, it's a production right out of 2003.
It's well, it sounds great. You guys on your guys' podcast, your voices sound great. You have a great sound. Your editing is really good. From what I hear, that when Matt finds a bourbon he really likes or a scotch, that he'll start with the nose and then somewhere around, I think you said 140 words is when you start editing before you bring him back.
The minute he says, "Can I say something about scotch?" I just kind of make a little mental note. I'm going to have to come back here and cut out 4 or 5 minutes of true scotch geekdom. Because it's like, dude, we're tasting a rye. Like, save it for the scotch show.
What you guys just did it one that was long. It was long names. It was
Yeah,
the
right.
world's greatest Michigan tequila club's single barrel Caribbean Reposado Yayo, and a Glenlivet one that was made in Caribbean rum barrels as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Drew likes to read the whole label for the benefit of the audience, but you know,
loved it.
full credit. Yeah, he wants to keep everybody informed.
Well, that I've never had the Scotch that you talked about, and I'm actually not. I'm not a peaty Scotch guy. I like wait, I guess your single malts, right? That taste more like a bourbon or a whiskey. So I want to get that and try it. And I want to do those back to back. I think that sounds awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You're hinting at our trademarked quick sip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a hype horn, Brad? Can you play a
A
sound
what?
effect for us? A
I
hype
don't,
horn.
I am sound. See, I have lighting and a good backdrop, but no sound effects. You have like a bell and somehow you both know when to say nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to cue it up a little bit.
I
Yeah,
bet.
we've got some silly things. We mention it every couple of episodes. Like this is what happens when two guys who have known each other for 15 years and talk about everything under the sun get together and hit record. Like the conversation just wanders.
So do you do it together when you're recording your podcast or do you do it
Yeah.
remotely?
No, we're sitting in the same room. We're sitting in this room actually.
Awesome. And then do you shoot like a couple a week and then take a couple weeks off, or do you do it every single week?
Yeah, we try to record a few open, to save time. Drew likes to go skiing during the wintertime, and my daughter plays volleyball in the summertime. So yeah, our schedules can get kind of hairy really quick. When we first started, we wanted 9 or 10 in the can, right? We
Right.
thought that was going to give us, a good cushion. But what we discovered was that, first of all, if you wanted to discuss anything timely, it really kind of went out the window. Like if you mentioned the holidays, Merry Christmas and it's June, that didn't work too well. Or even if you wanted to talk about new releases, what we were sipping on, if it was just dropped and we're 6 months behind, don't say brand new. Don't say brand new. But also, we had a little cloud issue and we lost a good number of those episodes. Thank you very much, Drew. I like to bring that up
All of
every
them.
now and
All
then.
of them. Yeah.
But, we also, at that time, though, we realized it was the best rehearsal, the best practice we could have come across because I really think we worked out our ums and our ahs. We worked in our chemistry, and we are recording together unless we do guests. If we do guests, we almost have to do Zoom. But when it's just Drew and I, yeah, we almost have an eye contact, almost like a unspoken kind of body language, so that we are not talking over each other and interrupting each other like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. He's being really generous with we had a little cloud mishap I legit erased 10 episodes. And I was so worried about it. And I don't remember if I called you, Matt, or texted you, or I don't know what I did, but I was just like, man, I just deleted everything and it is gone and I cannot recover it. It is 100% gone. And you're like, yeah, okay, man, whatever.
Do it
You
again.
know, like nothing we can do about it. Let's just keep recording.
My Brian and I had a guest. We started the show. We're about 30 minutes into interviewing this guest. And I look up and went, we never hit record. We
Nice.
legit
Yeah.
just forgot to hit record. So then
And it was golden, right?
it
It
was,
was, yeah.
it was so good. And yeah, we started over and we literally started the show with, hey, take two. We're going to
Yeah,
try this
right.
again. And it went fine. No one else would have known if we didn't say anything. Yeah, it makes your heart sink when you put all that time in and then you realize, oh, crap. So
I say, I was lucky that I had a few of the recordings onto another, my iCloud or something already. And so there were a few snippets from the very first times we were recording because there were some golden nuggets in there that we used for those original cold opens on our show or, for an outtake reel. So it wasn't all lost. I have another buddy who's got a really successful podcast, and he said that's the best thing you could have done. He goes, I go back and I listen to our first 10 podcasts, him and his partners, and he's just like, they're just terrible. I want to take them down. So maybe it was a blessing.
I do that with so many of my videos. I'm like, oh, it's cringeworthy. Like so many are
Right.
cringeworthy.
Sure. No, I have a good way of derailing people's thoughts and just tangenting off.
So do you do bloopers out of every show? Because I just remembered what I wanted to say too. I love your bloopers at the end. Like I listen to your whole show to listen to the bloopers at the end as well. And there's one where you just said, don't say anything weird or to embarrass your family. Compile those, or is that from the show that you actually just edited?
I used to compile them and I would pull, I would have this whole reel of outtakes that I could use. Anymore, I think we have enough outtakes in any given episode. I've just, when something strikes me as, something funny or outtake worthy, I just kind of, pull the track to the side and save it for later for that episode. So I would say anymore, probably 9 out of 10 of those are from that episode.
So your blooper reels are amazing. I love them.
A
So
little behind the scenes, we will meet probably a good half hour, 45 minutes before we're going to really get into the recording. And we'll bring a bottle or two that might be in a future show because we do want to do our best to start curating and tasting these things together. At first, it was just, hey, you bring a bottle, I'll bring a bottle, and let's see if they match up. And now we want a connection, whether it's maybe in related to the same importer or related to they're both aged in a certain kind of barrel, or even if it's just something they're both blue, or they both have blue bottles or whatever it is. But we can have that time together to kind of sip and go back and forth and talk about the bottle. Do we like it? Is it show worthy? Not sponge worthy, but show worthy. And then during those sips, we try to keep it lighthearted, and I'll crack a joke or something like that, and those are often what ends up happening to be in the outtakes.
yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask because it seems like you have really good combos of tequila to a bourbon. And you guys have this crazy calculation, some mad scientist calculation between proofs that I want you to explain. But do you spend a lot of time like, hey, I have a bourbon or a whiskey that tastes like this. What do you think would go good with it? Or is it more happenstance that you bring these different bottles together?
What do you think, Matt? You want to start?
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, I think that I like to text Drew a lot. I have a feeling that he looks at his phone and goes, "Oh, jeez," because I will be thinking about 3 or 4 days leading up to our scheduled meeting, and I'll be like, "Hey, do you have a tequila that has that's celebrating 50 years this year?" And he'll be like, "I have no idea. I'm I'm taking out the garbage right now. I don't know. But, we're starting to, because there is, I think we've maybe a self-applied pressure. We do want to have something that has some kind of a connection. And, it fuels the fun. It fuels the passion that we're doing with this, that we're not just going to throw, two bottles together. Although we will do like beginner buys, which
Mhm.
we want to do something that's affordable, that's approachable, that is what
Available.
available on the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in the first couple of episodes, I think we just threw together like, what were some of our favorites. Matt and I have gotten in the car a couple times and driven all across the Chicago suburbs and hunting for bottles and what did we find when we hunted. And those were okay, but then we would get two bottles that went really well together and we'd be blown away. So then it became maybe that should be the show and maybe we should put a little bit more thought and effort into the two that we're bringing.
You guys do a great job at it. And the pairings, it almost makes me go buy the whiskey, the scotch, or the bourbon, and I already take a little heat for all the tequila that I buy. So I'm thinking if I start adding more alcohol to the room, I may have to get a liquor's license. So I haven't dove into that. So another question is, how did you come up with the name? What was your idea behind the name that you came up with?
Well, Matt brings a whiskey, I bring a tequila, and we're gonna drink them on Friday. So WTF. That's what it,
Was
that's how it
WTF
came
an
down.
accident though, or was WTF a plan?
No, I think it was a plan. I don't
Okay.
I don't even remember exactly how we discussed it, Matt.
Well, I flipped when when you finally signed up for the RSS and it was WTF, and I did not even look at the hyphen Whiskey Tequila Fridays, and I was like, we are going to get sued. Do you understand what this means? And like, do I have to explain intellectual property to you? And he was like, no, 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 it's fine. Look at our words. And I was like, oh yeah, this is WTF. Yeah, all right. So, I mean,
I
if
don't
if
think
we
anybody has WTF trademarked or registered, right? I mean, that's just common use. Our idea was, we'd try to drop these on a Friday morning so that you could listen to the show on your drive to work or over your lunch break, pop by the liquor store, pick up a bottle of each, and that could be your Friday night, right? Invite your friends, crack the bottles, make it a happy Friday, right? That's what we say on every show.
Another really cool element to your show is your jingle. Who is this guy? This sounds like he's straight out of Nashville or bluegrass land singing this amazing Whiskey Tequila Friday song. I love it.
That's Matt's buddy. Matt, you got to tell him about Joby.
Yeah, yeah, Joby is straight out of Southern Missouri.
Okay.
And his name is Joby Holland, and it's Holland. And he had a band at one point called Forsha Creek, Fourche. And he would do, small venues, and he had full set, musicians with him. And he's really a full-time teacher and just a really talented country singer that would have this side gig. And I met him in Montana, of all places. We have a mutual friend that we set up these hiking trips in Montana at Glacier National Park. And so I struck up a friendship with this guy just because he happened to be coming along on the trip. Found out he was a teacher, found out he was a country singer, and he's just such a great guy. We really struck up a good friendship. And I approached him almost as like one of those things like where someone says, oh yeah, you should have so and so, and I was like, I'll be damned, yeah, we should have that. And so I approached him with the idea, and he's like, he didn't even hesitate. Yeah, sure, whatever, I'll do it. And so he sent me a couple of jingles, a couple of songs, and I sent it to Drew. And in all honesty, I did write the lyrics. I wrote the lyrics, but then he put it together. He came up with the tune, the sound, and how to put it together. And when I sent it to Drew, I mean, he flipped. He just, it was amazing.
I am not a country fan,
Yeah.
right? I grew up these hip hop, old British invasion, into hair metal, into all kinds of things, never country. And when I heard that song, I said, that's it, country fan. Got it. Yeah, it's amazing.
I love a Pearl Jam, Foo Fighter fans having a country music theme song for their show. I'm a country guy, so I listen to your intro over and over again. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we thank Joby every chance we can, and we were a couple of shows in, and Drew just was, almost jokingly, he said, it'd be great if if Joby could do a cover of Cherry Chapstick,
Yeah.
like a Katy Perry song. I'm like as awesome as that would be, I'm like, I'm not even gonna ask him that, But then a couple of times it would come through that we're like, actually, this song does mix, like the Jose Cuervo song, when we had a tequila lineup, or we'll play one of his songs. He gave us permission and license to upload his YouTube songs onto our shows as like a little break in between sippings. We play one of his songs, and yeah, he's a good sport. He does it, whatever we ask him, he's willing to consider it. So yeah, it's great. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I love it. I also love your little sip sections where you have somebody say their name. I was really excited when I heard mine in there. Like, that's so vain, but I was like, oh, look at that. Yeah. All right.
We
So
used to just have dead air.
oh yeah.
We used to,
I edit out the dead air. I just,
right. It was just a perfect spot. If we're going to take a second and have dead air while we sip, why not promote somebody and get a little shout out for ourselves from somebody else? I mean, I just feel like we can all scratch each other's backs in that way,
And our listeners are sipping along with us, so we got to give them a little bit of time, right?
yeah,
yeah.
right.
And once you get to the Kelsey brothers level, that's going to be really profitable advertising space in your show.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
This show makes a gigantic sucking sound of money coming out of our pockets.
Yes, I understand. I have a well invested amount in equipment for a podcast that's a year and a half old that has 160 subscribers. So I'm with you.
Nice.
Our joke on the show is don't worry about what you say. We have tens of listeners.
Exactly. Yeah. 6 listeners can't be wrong. Bro.
Exactly. They're right every time. And I'm so glad they watch every time and listen every time. So do you guys have any thought of moving yours from just an audio podcast to a video podcast?
We're in the works. I'm currently watching YouTube videos on how to do YouTube videos. So it's quite meta right now. But yeah, we're exploring it. And the first few, I mean, obviously the episodes 1 through 68 would have to just probably be audio only. But then we will look at what we can do to maybe do a live video, because we've been getting enough requests from enough fans that say, you guys got to go on YouTube. You got to get on YouTube. And so, we wouldn't do it for the revenue. We would just do it to see if it's, to reach one or two more audience people, one or two more fans to see if they want to join us and have fun with it. So yeah, we're gonna test the waters. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I don't think we have enough downloads for revenue anyway, so that takes care of that issue.
Yeah, YouTube monetization takes a while, but you talked about this at Instagram. I would say that if you both got boobs, you would probably get more subscribers quickly.
This is true. I've been working on it.
Have you?
I just try to just gain a little bit more weight, see what happens.
All right, so we have a prepared blind, right? In front of us. Do you have yours in front of you guys? I did. Number one is in an Agave social glass. So I'm an Agave social club member. And number 2 is in a Respecto glass. And you guys do blinds all the time, right?
We do a fair amount.
Okay. So tell me how you guys would approach this blind, and I want to do it the way you guys do it.
Well, we like to nose all the way down before we, kind of, what's the word, kind of contaminate your palate.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this case, we would just be kind of nosing back and forth. And are we on the same team? Are we competing? What's the story here?
Ooh, I don't know how we would compete.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to compete with Matt's palate on anything ever.
I will say that I like to guess the tequila that I'm actually drinking, and sometimes I nail it, sometimes I'm way off. The last blind I did, I was way off on some of them. So I do like to try to figure out what it is. that I'm tasting. And this is something that we both had on our shelves already. So this is something that we both have had. And I have no idea what it is. My wife poured it and numbered them 1 and 2. And then I said, how do I know when we're all done what is each one? And she goes, I don't know. You guys have to figure that out.
Yeah. We should mention our each gave our wives a list of what's on my bar and what's on your bar, and then they found a couple that were in common. So yeah, we have no idea. I actually have an answer sheet within reach.
Okay.
But
okay, that's good.
For integrity of the show, I have not looked at it, and I probably will not be able to guess. So I'm okay with that.
All right. Well, you want to start with number 1 or number 2?
Yeah. Let's start with number 1.
Okay.
I should also point out my wife was like, how much do you want? I'm like, well, just go past the curve on the Riedel. And I got half a Riedel here.
Give me a pour that's pre-AA meeting.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Mm,
Drew, what do you?
that's nice.
I'm getting a nice earthy petrichor kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get a little bit of funkiness as well.
I'll give you
Taking
that.
notes.
Yeah. Limestone, chalky. Is there an olive brine in there?
That's right.
I get some brininess. I don't know that I could pick up olive. Your ability to explain the smells, you go in that upper level person.
Well, I'm not getting it, but Drew knows what I'm saying when I say olive brine. I'm not quite getting the olive just yet. But
I like when you say things like, that smells like a dandelion growing in Arkansas on a Saturday around 4 p.m. and it's cloudy out.
I get some grief sometimes for that, but I like it too. I like to just explain what I'm feeling and what I'm smelling, And this reminds me, it reminds me of when the rain hits the baseball field, that petrichor. But it is a really nice agave. I'm not getting a lot of citrus.
No.
And I'm not getting a lot of anise or licorice or black pepper.
I always thought it was anise.
We've had this debate. So tell me who said anise to you growing up. Is that just how your family said it?
Nobody growing up. Like we never ever talked about anise.
Those are for some fancy spices. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me, have you heard the anise smell? No, I've only heard it both ways in the wine and the bourbon and the tequila talk, right? So that's where I had to go look it up. Somebody said it smells like anise. And I'm like, I don't know. I have a niece, but I've never smelled her. I have no idea what she smells like. Probably baby powder.
Smelled her.
So I had to go look that up, and this was licorice. I was like, why didn't they say licorice? But so I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, I feel like anise is more East Coast and good true to Midwest, right? Just anise.
Well, then, and what sells me is the anise seed. When you say anise seed, you don't say anise seed. That's always what throws me the other.
Right.
Need to convince and reminds me how to say it because I'm one that will say it both ways. I'll go both ways without knowing it. So.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll go both ways as well. Anise or anise.
Kind of like when they had to stop. It's kind of like when they had to start saying harassment.
Right. Based on the nose, I have a feeling. I think I might know what it is, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a couple of guesses.
Does it have a little peony on the top of the cork?
No.
I know where you're going with that, but I'm actually thinking it's not.
To me, it's a Highlands. The funk when I in the very first nose, I got a little funkiness, but now it's gone. And now I get way more of that petrichor, that really thick Highlands minerality versus a lowlands minerality.
Okay.
It's even
probably the most I've smelled tequila.
Yeah, even Brad's next level here. I'm just going to just shut up while you two have your descriptors here.
But I do get a little teeny, just a hint of orange peel on the lower end of the glass.
Yeah, with time, this thing is opening up. That limestone salinity, that all that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of going away.
Okay, when do we taste it?
Mm.
Should we move? Should we?
We should nose
Nose
number
the
two.
nose the other one, nose number two
Yeah.
next.
So that way you get a nose with a clean palate on both ways. Listen, Brad, you have not tasted anything until you've tasted with Matt.
Well,
There's a whole system.
I never like to say let's nose number two, but in this case,
So this is already, we haven't even had a sip and we're off the rails.
what the heck is
That one's
that?
changing a lot too.
Yeah, that one's candy, confection sugar kind of thing going on.
Not in a bad way,
No,
No.
but in a really cooked agave way. Like,
Yeah, when it was first here and we hadn't even logged on yet, I was smelling it and I was getting like a little mint or eucalyptus on there and I thought, "Oh, maybe I have an idea of what this one is too." But it has changed.
I get a really clean,
Mhm.
smell, almost like a green agave cleanness.
Sure. Sure.
yeah, no. There's a vegetal note, and it's good to know that Drew was cheating. So we have
Yeah.
to catch up now, Brad.
I had my toppers on mine, my Agave Social Club and Tequila Collective covers on there. I
I don't
almost
know.
get a touch of
Hmm.
like a roasted smoky smell. Not like a smoke, but like a roasted smell.
Now go back into number 1. Now that this is all filled up in the nasal passages,
Oh my gosh, that smells
right?
like I'm sniffing a street.
Wow.
The petrichor is
Mhm.
way stronger.
Well, that's giving me some indications too. Okay.
Me too. Yeah, I mean I can't wait to taste them.
Number
Yeah.
2 has me, yeah, number
Is there a
uh,
juicy fruit? Is there a juicy fruit note in number two on the nose?
Would you use the word flummoxed?
I wouldn't, but yes, that's a good word. Nice.
I'm ready.
All right, so are we going to sip number 1? What are we going to do, Brad? It's your show. You
It's
tell
your
us.
show. I'm just here with you. Let's sip number one.
All right. Salute.
Salute.
Salud.
Limestone's still there. That minerality's still there.
Yeah.
That sweetness is there, but subdued to me. Not as sweet as what I thought it was going to be.
I got a good bit of sweetness. Not really a olive brine finish, Matt. So which if you were
No,
thinking Fortaleza in the beginning, I don't think it's going to be.
right. No, I would lean away from that now too. And the finish was what was so sweet for me.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It really
I get
finished
that.
nice and sweet with that kind of a candy orange and orange peel kind of
I was
sweetness.
gonna say I pick up that citrus in that finish a lot more of an orange peel.
Was it high proof or was it just
Mm.
my first sip of the night?
I've been drinking still strength before you got here, so I do not believe it's super high proof in my opinion.
Yeah. I warmed up with some Peralta 110.
I had a
Mm.
sake yeast new profile off of the still from Sergio Cruz at 1414 in a plastic barrel bottle that's almost gone.
Too cool.
Ridiculously good.
Yeah,
I
that
get a
that
I get a
second sip.
dryness, very
Yes.
dry.
Yeah, it's finishing dry for me on that
Mhm.
second sip. And it's not coming off too hot. I'm acclimating. So, but my first inkling is 1123. I mean, this is coming off like one of the many brands that could be 1123.
Yeah, yeah. You went and
Oh.
skewed my thinking because I was thinking it had the petrichor of a 1579.
So many of those though come off with such an earthy, spice notes, whether it's the anise. I almost always get licorice
Hmm.
with 1579.
Okay,
The Primo, the G4,
I pick up
almost all of them.
more orange from 79 than I do 23. That's where I picked up so much of that orange flavor.
Really?
Where Cascaween to me is more vegetal and earthy, where I don't get any of that citrus.
Okay.
Interesting.
But I don't have any floral, and sometimes I get some floral from 1579.
My first guess was going to be Siete. See, I mean, we're all over the board here.
Siete Leguas.
Yeah.
Well, that's Highlands. Tatanico is got some of those same agaves as a Rollerman Tohona blend, which is kind of like the Felipe's Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see that. I drink Siete Leguas a lot.
Okay.
It doesn't jump out to me as Siete Leguas. That's a go-to tequila. That's what I was going to ask you. People ask what's your favorite, right? And I get that every day. And I have so many favorites. But what's your go-to tequila? If you're going to just go to the bar to get a drink, what's your go-to?
What's open?
I'll go first because I don't have that many. But Drew might have to think a little bit harder on that question. But for me, most of the time it's 1139. It's Carlos and also Ocho, which isn't quite 1139. My gosh, for a while there, the stores here had Villa Lobos kind of on the discount rack, like on marked down. I think I might have bought like 2 or 3 bottles at once. That the citrus and the just the right amount of earthy agave balance for me. I just love Carlos Camarena and his passion and everything that he has presented and the videos and everything that he's done. I taste that passion in all of what he's doing. So for me, it would have to be either Ocho or like a Villa Lobos.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of Ocho. It's the ones that are the go-tos are again the ones that are on the shelves and readily available and somewhat affordable. So around here, like an Ocho Blanco, Siete Leguas, G4 Blanco, like those are around and they're affordable and easy to pick up. I think I mentioned earlier, like my first love was Fortaleza Blanco, but you can't hardly find it. So I typically I don't crack a bottle until I can pick up a second one. And I'm really good. If there's multiple on the shelf, I'll just pick up one.
Gotcha.
Got to save them for the next guy.
I'm Siete Leguas, and I am El Tesoro. These are ones that are every day, so.
Right.
G4 is pretty easy, and Ocho as well. Okay, have you hit this number 2 yet?
Not yet. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
I'm going to rinse out it just a little bit.
Wow, the nose on that has changed.
Right.
Still green, still fresh, but
you both
a little
had
flowery.
You both had Casamigos on your shelf?
One day I did.
There's a sweet note in here.
There is a sweet note. But yeah, it's definitely not Casamigos.
I still didn't forget it. That's right.
Well,
I can say I have no idea what this one is.
No.
I've got to depend on my tequila guys here because I have never had anything like this.
I don't have a clue. And I don't know, Brad, I've got to have 50, 60 Blancos on the bar. How many, do you have any idea how many you have?
I think I counted out, 68 different Blancos.
68.
260 bottles representing 80 brands.
Wow.
Gosh, that one is, I kind of think I know now but I don't know that you would have had this one on your shelf. I feel like this one might be Entre Manos. Do you have Entre Manos at your house?
See, this is how we'll narrow it down. We'll just take our own inventory. I don't.
Okay. This is very much like lot 5 of Entre Manos.
Okay.
Is that 1414?
No, 1522.
Okay.
Do you have one of those rolling ladders so you can get way up high in the
Yes.
I have to stand like it is 15 feet up there. I have to stand on a ladder to get to the top.
A librarian ladder. That's great. Now we know what to get you. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to have that.
Right.
Entre Manos, NOM 1522, Alan Taylor, the owner, Jimmy Salsa, master distiller. I have lot 4 and lot 5. This one reminds me of lot 5. So this one I feel like it's a lowlands tequila.
Yeah, because how am I getting like butterscotch
I get
out
that
of a
too.
Blanc, right?
Oh, it's there.
Yeah, there's a sweetness. And Matt, you were talking earlier about juicy fruit. There is almost like a grapefruit, like a sweet grapefruit undertone. Yeah, I got to tell you, no clue.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
I would take a stab at wood fermented because there's a softness to it.
Okay.
So I would just take a stab that this is wood fermented, but I have no clue.
I'm looking at my bottles thinking, okay, what's a lowland
Yeah.
wood fermented? There's a couple I haven't had in a while. Do you feel this is overproofed a little?
If it is, it's sneaky because it's not
Yeah.
coming off hot. Coming off smoother and buttery, more buttery. I was about to say butterier,
I
but
like
more.
butterier better than more
Yeah.
buttery.
Butter,
That creaminess.
butteriest.
Could it be a Cascanes?
I don't have a Blanco.
Okay, so
I'm pretty sure. I guess I'd have to.
it's not funky enough to be Cascanes.
Right.
Cascanes.
Right.
It's been a while since I've had Cascanes. It's a lot more funky.
Yeah, no, this could be malolactic, but it's not coming off with that really heavy mallow.
Well, Brad, I am flummoxed.
Flummoxed is a great word. I love it. It goes right up there with spatula and moist.
Mm.
So
I was going to say bewildered. I'm bewildered.
bewildered is a good word. So I'm gonna throw my guess out on one as G4. I think
Okay.
that's G4 Blanco.
All right. And I'm not good enough with these, so I'm gonna just say it's a Cascahuin.
Tough to say. So what's funny is I've got a couple bottles of Tahona down there, and I've never cracked one or tasted it.
Emptied
But
2 or 3 of those.
As my wife was like, okay, you got to show me what I'm doing with this list. So I had my list and I'm showing my wife and I'm like, this is El Tesoro, but this is the olive oil bottle. So unless Brad says El Tesoro olive oil, it's not this. And this is G4 108 because it's got the silver label. This is G4 with the blue label. If he just says G4, it's this one. If he says 108, it's that one. It going through all this stuff. She's like, oh my God.
I didn't include any of my high proofs.
Oh, okay.
I just did Blancos. Well, I may have said a couple times and the HP. Meaning I also had the HP, but there's a lot of high proofs I didn't even put on the list.
Would Tony have known what HP meant?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I don't think my wife would have. So unless she got coached down, like, what do we know about our wives?
Okay, let's just do the big reveal.
All right. Do you want to? Okay, I love it. I love it when Tony's on the show with you.
Yeah.
Because I can tell she doesn't want to be there.
Did you see the last one
where
she did her disclaimer that she enjoys being on the show?
I did, and I love it. I love it when you said, "Yeah, maybe we'll do these once a week." She's like, "Man, once a month."
She said, "Let's go do another blind."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Let me get the lighting out. Let me get everything set up." So
that's incredible.
She does enjoy it. Yeah.
So I've got the list here. Should I pull out the list?
Yeah, let's review. I'm gonna say it's a 14-14. Number 2 is a 14-14.
You think so?
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Okay, so I've got the answers, and I can tell you
we're both wrong.
We're wrong.
Completely.
Not necessarily completely. I have only had a sip of one of these.
Okay.
So number 1 is Don Vicente.
1579.
1579. So you called it with the 1579, but I mean, I had that at a tasting out of a little, plastic cough medicine cup.
Now, I would say if we would have picked the Don Vicente high proof, the still strength one up there, I think I would have nailed that because that is probably one of the best still strengths I've ever had. It's phenomenal. Yeah. Okay, so I nailed the 1579. That fires me up.
Before we go further, whose was the favorite? Mine was 1. For me, 1 was my favorite.
I like 1.
I don't know. They're so different.
Right. They are.
So the second one is awesome.
Really? That's a high proof.
And I don't know which one you have. I've got an older bottle. I should go grab it. And I've never cracked it open.
So she opened your bottle.
She opened the Don Vicente too. Asombroso, the butt plug bottle.
Asombroso.
That's why my wife picked it. She saw that and she said, "Oh, hold on a minute, little sex on the shelf here."
I'm gonna sit down on that bottle.
All right, that's a different. Let me go grab mine.
Wait a minute. But I gotta go. Air conditioning is getting really strong. What's happening to the bottle?
I was in the pool.
So I have this older bottle that was supposedly when it was higher quality and additive-free, or I don't know.
So this is the brand new.
Okay.
The brand new
So it's the brand new additive-free. I've got the old one maybe when it had additives.
Okay.
We might be
So
tasting two different bottles.
We may have been a little different off in the smell and the taste, because this one is, I couldn't have guessed that, but I haven't drank this a lot. I've only done a couple. This is the Eros. Where's the camera? There you go. Eros, the new additive-free stuff. So
yeah, nice. I have a feeling.
I wouldn't have guessed that one.
I'll have to go grab the bottle off the bar, but I have a feeling mine's the El Platino that scores a 68. That's rough.
That's why we're getting the butterscotch and bubble gum.
That could be.
See, when you said that, I was like, no, I'm getting a little funkiness, a little earthiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did not get that.
Honestly, with this tequila, they did a great job.
Okay.
This is fun when you go. They did a great job making this a little bit more traditional than some of their older stuff, and it has a nice flavor to it that is really good, in comparison to some of the other ones that they've had in the past.
This is like Austin Powers, right? The phallic spaceship. Yeah, I think we're sipping two different ones here. I know that mine is an older bottle.
I first thought you said Atanasio. Have you ever had this?
I have not had. That's the high proof. I have not had it.
Yeah, if you've got to come down and meet Renee and Shacid and come to the distillery, go out into the fields, go through their process, and then do a tasting with them. Their tequila is off the charts, phenomenal. All of them are so amazing. So many great things for the region.
That's awesome.
Well, I nailed the 1579 that fire.
You did. You got it.
You were swaying me to Casa Green Square bottle, but I picked up that citrus note that I always get with the Highland tequilas.
Yeah, and I always recognize the 1123 on the nose, and I didn't recognize it right away, and that should have been my cue that it was something else. But I always say that 1123 has one of the best noses in tequila. I just
Totally agree. And when you said that, but I got so much of that petrichor minerality with the orange, and that's really only something I find on a Highlands and that G4 smell, because you don't pick up the citrus notes as much when you're in those lowland tequilas, or the floral notes as much. So you go Highlands, things become more floral. You get some pine.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, awesome. I'm not upset,
guys.
Yeah, it's also it's funny like what they choose. Like, you haven't seen the shambles that is my tequila collection, but like my wife went digging. That Don Vicente is buried.
It's
and that
really?
And that Asombroso is like she had to pull out 4 or 5 other bottles before she got to that one. So
no kidding.
Yeah, she was digging. She didn't grab something from the front.
Well, guys, y'all killed it.
This was a great time.
This was fun, dude. We should do this maybe weekly.
I'm down. I should probably turn off the recording so we can really let loose here. And otherwise, you're going to have to put the E on all of your episodes. And
well, let's wrap it up, just because we're at an hour and I don't edit a whole lot. I cut out the ums and the you-knows, but outside of that, I let this roll.
Good. We got a few.
I got a teeny bit left of the 1579. Cheers to you guys.
Salute. And thanks so much, Brad.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely watch Whiskey or listen to Whiskey Tequila Fridays wherever you get your podcasts. Guys.
Cheers.